Hi there. I just want to show you a few things about this new Festool saw with the SawStop. So it's just a few things that I figured out, but it was really difficult to find in the instruction. Um, the first thing would be to when you want to open up the down to the saw blade. Difficult with one hand. What you do is, I mean, it's quite obvious once you get it, but actually you don't do it like this. You point it this way. That's quite important, because if you don't do that, it's really not working very well. But if you point it this way, it's very easy to open up. Okay, so that's one thing. And then I had to adjust this screw right there. I had to adjust it a lot. It was really completely out of place. I mean, it's quite easy to adjust, but I had to do that. Adjust these, especially that one. And yeah, it's not a really big deal, but actually it's not totally in line here. So that means you can feel it when you're going over here, but it still works. But it's not perfectly assembled actually. So this one wasn't fit. It was really super tight. So you have to, at least I had to adjust it. It's quite easy, but the manual is really complicated. So basically what you do is you loosen this one and you loosen that one. And then you put this the fence on, and you tighten it up, and you make sure that, because you see this one is going up and down, right? So you make sure that this one is, in angle. It can move a little bit, so you just gotta make sure that it's an angle. It's when you adjust the I don't know the name of, when you adjust these, you want to adjust them so that they fit with the fence being completely in line with the table, right? So I do that by eye measure because it's good enough here. Because this is not that precise. I mean, it's precise, but it's not more precise than my eye measure, I think. So now I see the line is perfect. Then what I did, which worked, is that I loosened these two screws. I tightened it up so it was really where I wanted to be. Everything is tight. Then I loosened these. That's the height, right? And I also loosened these two screws from the bottom with one of these things. And then I tightened them in the top so that they were, resting. And I tightened them a little bit, and then I tested it out if it worked, if it was not too tight. And if I was fine with it, then I just really tightened them quite hard, right? And the next two I did, that was the next step I did. And these are basically the angle, right? So that's why you want this one to be in perfect angle when you before you tighten the screw here. So I put that in perfect angle with kind of perfect, and then I just tightened them, and then I looked on the inside of the wheels that there was no air, right? They should be touching, but so it should be quite smooth, but it shouldn't be too smooth, right? You don't want any slack in it. So if you don't adjust this, I think you will have some slack in the fence. So that was one thing, and that was really complicated. I mean, it's not really very, very well described in the book. And what else? Yeah, the fence kind of has to be on this side. There's a little more space on this side of the table. That's one thing. Another thing is that this one kind of points in that direction. So if you put the fence over here, then that will kind of go out over the edge, and you can't really cut anything really. You can't cut anything very big here. So it kind of has to be on this side. So that's basically it. And one more thing, just to be curious thing. Actually, you see now it's green, and it's a little strange, but when I touch it, just very careful on the tip, with my finger. Doesn't actually blink. Maybe I have very dry skin, I don't know. But of course, if I touch it a little harder, of course it blinks, right? So I guess in my case, I would have to cut a little bit through the skin before it stops, because I can touch, now I'm touching the edge. It doesn't really blink. I'm just touching the saw hardened steel. I mean, if I touch the side of the blade, it's super sensitive. I can't, as soon as I just touch it, the minimum it will blink, right? If I touch it here, but as soon as I touch that piece, not with my nail, but with my finger, if I touch it very careful, now it's blinking. If I touch it very careful, now I'm doing that. Now it doesn't blink. I'm totally in contact with it. So I'm really touching it now. So I have to kind of push my finger onto it quite, with some pressure before it starts. So, but I mean, okay, so then I will cut 1 or 2 millimeters into my finger, I guess, before it stops. But that's of course way better than cutting deeper. And I think in my case, it's really risky I would probably, if I cut myself, I definitely won't put my finger into it. But what can easily happen is that you cut something and you don't have the protection on because you did some work without it. And then you want to push your piece of wood forward and then you maybe touch it like that. You crush your hand over like that. I think that's the biggest risk, like that. And then it's very nice that it stops. So yeah, just a few extra thoughts to the many instructions out there, because I didn't see those instructions that I just said, and I think that was quite important. Okay, bye.